All right. My name is David Lagar, and I'm a licensed acupuncturist in the state of Arizona. And today I was going to present to you the 5 frequently asked questions I'm given as an acupuncturist. And they are, how does acupuncture work? Is it painful? What can it treat? Is it covered by insurance? And do you reuse needles? I'll answer the fastest ones first. So number 2, is it painful? Only if you pay me extra. I can make it hurt if you want me to, but generally the needles are as thin as a hair. They go in really easily. They're not painful at all. They're nothing like a hypodermic or even a tattoo needle. They're very, very easy and very, it's quite a smooth treatment itself. Is it covered by insurance? Yes. And usually the follow-up question, do you take insurance? Yes, I personally do. But acupuncture has been covered by insurance for many years by insurance companies. Just a lot of people didn't look into it. That doesn't mean every plan has coverage, but it is worth looking into. And they generally want you to treat pain. So if you're going to an acupuncturist for allergies or even fertility, that won't be covered. But back pain, headaches, neck pain, that's what usually comes into my office, that will be covered. Do you reuse needles? Short answer is no. Long answer is I could, but I don't. It is legal, but it's just so much more sanitary and safe to not reuse needles. So what I generally do, I use my stainless steel filiform single use. But if I wanted to reuse them, I'd have to get an autoclave, needles that could be reused, and sign a whole new contract with my malpractice insurance because they expressly forbid me from reusing needles. But I don't have an autoclave, I don't have reusable needles, and I'm not going to re-sign that contract anytime soon. So short answer is no for me. Others might be yes, but really it's a rarity that acupuncturists reuse needles anymore. We just throw them in the sharps container and buy new ones. They're just cheap, you buy new ones. So the 2 longer questions, and probably I'll answer them both at the same time, is how does acupuncture work? What can it treat? Now, the first question, that how does acupuncture work, is actually quite extensive. There's 4 semesters of theory, and I'm going to have to try to sum that up in a bite-sized chunk for you today. Strictly speaking, from a Western medical point of view, we don't know why acupuncture works. So little hands up in the air, I don't know. Does it work? Yes. Its efficacy has been proven on multiple occasions through multiple tests and studies. So that's why insurance covers it. That's why the World Health Organization recognizes acupuncture as an extremely effective medicine. It's just we don't know why it works. So when you know it works, but you don't know why, you have what is known as a theory. And there's 2 major theories in acupuncture. The first one is the histamine theory, and I'll explain that one really fast. Histamine theory works like this. You have pain here, and I'm going to put a needle here. And red and white blood cells are going to rush here because your body's going to react with an immune or histamine response. Now, the needle's only there for 20 to 30 minutes, and when I pull that needle out, I'm going to swipe it with a piece of cotton, and that wound will be closed. So there's really nothing for the body to heal, but it doesn't know that when it sends out the troops. And when those phagocytes get to that area, they're the cleanup crew, and they're going to eat old scar tissue and damaged nerves. They're going to eat all that stuff up. And then it's going to the body will replace it with fresh tissue, and then you heal. And histamine theory is a very elegant and simple way of explaining why acupuncture works for local pain. And it explains nothing else. So that's why I don't really like the histamine theory. It's a great theory, it's very elegant, but I have seen acupuncture work with so many things that the histamine theory cannot explain, that I feel it's limited in its explanation. Because it doesn't explain why it helps with migraines and headaches. I'm not putting needles in your brain itself. It doesn't explain why it helps with nausea and vomiting, which is something that insurance will cover for acupuncture. It doesn't explain infertility, why it helps with that. Or explain with fertility, really, not infertility. That's what we're second best known for, and that's not explained by the histamine theory. It doesn't explain about how it helps with rheumatoid arthritis or lupus, where the immune system would be the enemy, and if I was to pull that red and white blood cells to the area, it should make it worse. Yet when I do the needles, it makes it better. It doesn't explain why it helps with cancers and strokes and multiple sclerosis and depression, addiction, PTSD, colds, flus, insomnia issues, stress issues. There's over 40 conditions the World Health Organization recognizes as acupuncture successfully treating, and none of them but local pain is explained by the histamine theory. So the next big theory, the older of the 2 theories, obviously the one I prefer and the one I was taught in school, is the Qi theory. Now again, it's a theory, I could be totally wrong, but this is the one I've seen work the most in my clinic. Qi is a term from Chinese. The Japanese and Koreans use the term Qi. And it means it's a subtle energy that flows through our body along what is known as a meridian line. And you might be able to see them in the chart behind me. As the chi flows through these meridian lines, if it's flowing normal, you're healthy. But if there's ever an imbalance, and there's either too much of something, an excess or a stagnation, or too little of something, a deficiency, that will cause the chi to not flow properly, and then you have disease, in the simplest of terms. There's other ways of describing it, but we're trying to be really straightforward here today. So my job as the acupuncturist is to listen to your chief complaints, take your tongue, your pulse, and find out what's going on internally and see where that imbalance lies, and then pick a point prescription that corrects the imbalance. Each point, each acupuncture point has its own energetic or function that tells your body to do different things. Some of them tell you, hey, heal the back. Some of them tell you, hey, balance the spleen. We need more spleen energy and chi. Hey, we need this so you can sleep better. And I'm reprogramming the computer. Like I took out the hard drive and I've resoldered it and rewired it, so now it works differently. Reprogramming the software is where I get you to think differently, but I'm actually putting the needles in and reprogramming the hardware. That's the best analogy I have for you. And I'm telling your body to do a little bit differently so that it begins to correct the imbalance and heals itself. You've been leaning too far to the right, now we're going to lean to the left a little bit until we get you back into homeostasis. Why do you use needles then? Well, I may be able to elicit the same response if I was able to push one point with exactly the same pressure for the next 30 minutes, and that's acupressure. And it's a wonderful treatment, but I can really only get to like 2 points at a time with that method. With the needles, I can get to many points all at once, and they can consistently and strongly stimulate that point, telling your body, hey, change things, change things. And that's where I really throw the curtain back, because I'm actually not doing anything. The needles aren't special or magical. Your body's healing itself. I'm just guiding it along the way. I saw where the imbalance was through interviewing with you, and now we've corrected that imbalance with those needles. And through several treatments, your body will remember, oh, this is what balance is, and begin to heal itself. Again, that's 4 semesters of theory trying to sum up in one bite-sized chunk of how acupuncture works. But it's a general idea, and I already talked a little bit about what it can treat. There's so many diseases it can. There's some things we're not so good at, but there's a lot of things we are. So and if you have a good acupuncturist, they're going to tell you, yeah, I can help with that, or I can't. So those are my 5 frequently asked questions. How does it work? It's kind of complicated, but it works well. How is it painful? No, but again, if you pay me extra, I can make it hurt. What can it treat? A lot. Is it covered by insurance? Yes, although individual providers will vary whether they'll cover it. I do. And do you reuse needles? No. Again, individual providers may vary, but for the most part, no, we don't reuse needles. Thank you, you too, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.